We start with Lamazon Kapaguru Yoga. From the heart of the Savior, the 100 deities of Tushita, on a peak of a cloud resembling a clump of extremely white fresh curd. King of Dharma, omniscient Losandrapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me, on a lion throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit for my mind of faith, please abide for 100 eons to spread the teachings. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands the full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech, with its excellent explanations, is an ear ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renowned. To you who are meaningful to see, hear, and remember, I prostrate. Pleasing drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, lights, scented waters, and so forth. Oceans of cloud-like offerings, actually arranged and mentally emanated, I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite to the three vows that I have collected from beginningless time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age, and made your freedoms and riches meaningful by abandoning the 8 worldly concerns. Savior, we sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect, pure, holy gurus, from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion, in the sky of the Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and in particular may it cause the essence of perfect pure Losandrapa's teachings to shine forever. Sajiperki Joshi Metog Tramnirablinji Nidegen Pati Sangeshindu Mite Ulwai Drokonam Dagshila Chuparsho. By the merits having offered this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his 2 sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teaching of the victorious one, Losandrapa, who had the morality of an eminently pure way of life, was courageous in the extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the yoga of the 2 stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratnam Mandala Kandiyatayami. By the force of having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure Father and Sons, and combining into one enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of the tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and their imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. So here we do the 5-line mixima 3 times together. Migme sewe tevchin chen rezi, dreame kempe wampo jampel yang, dupon malu jomse son dan, ganshin kepe son gen son kapa, losan drape shabla sowadev. Migme sewe tevchin chen rezi, dreame kempe wampo jampel yang, dupon malu jomse son dan, ganshin kepe son gen son kapa, No Sandra Peshabla Sowadig Migme Sewe Tichin Rezig Dream Make Him Ve Wampo Jampel Yang Dupon Malu Shamse Son Wedan Ganshin Kepe Sungen Son Kappa No Sandra Peshabla Sowadig
dagi Geshe Jeban dagi Drolam Beshe Sanjin Drubar Sho Sanji Chedan Sojin Chonum La Chanju Bardu Dan Jabsun Dagi Geshe Jeban dagi Drolam Beshe Sanjin Drubar Sho Sanji Chedan Sojin Chonum La Chanju Bardu Dan Jabsun Dagi Geshe Jeban dagi Drolam Beshe Sanjin Drubar Sho 강기 투쟁이 손에 따와 탐제 밤비처럼 담비 춘든지 고담 될라 찬즈로 시신 경건 자벨로 계산 나외 전줄리시 잡에 빼질라면 제비 통제 템베 던된라 찬스 나물라에 깨달로 드는 주본다다 미 있겠는 더 군지라는 시점 탐제게도 다 기초된 또 야야 Good morning everyone. 쇼버딜리 고대 수고입니다.
Badene, Shobade,
야
Kilesegila, Chik,
아타쿠
Sum,
야 보다
Tagi Kudege, Chik, Sum.
아타쿠야 아타쿠 야 먼저 잡아서는 섬줄린 거스라 괜찮을게 믹스기 기회스 조시도 제요나 안한테 더 드링 시초그레스
So on Friday sessions, we do not have a specific topic. So if you have any questions, any topics that you want me to talk about, we can discuss on that.
되게 여름지 꾸버 딱딱하시
No, no, Stavarega,
아하
nobody.
저럴 거 없어
Good morning. I was wondering if Geshe could talk about how we can use through reasoning that past and future lives exist.
Chikodi Dirishagala, Chivanga Chitubigi Rigba, Kariyame Kola, Chiksonronans.
You have? No Nikki
Only half want to know this.
up
I only half want to know. Do little things, well, I'm not saying big things, but little discretions. Say you said something to somebody and you didn't choose the right words, and it came across the wrong way. Not in a bad way, or still, just a way that what wasn't intended, and you realize that when it's too late, and you just want to know if that affects your karma. So basically, just little things that you do, just so that your path that you have chosen to take, do you deviate from that path to find your way again when you have little changes in karma, something like that. I don't know.
비린 디숭금이나 그 판다 아주 직레 취취취들이 제바 인수나 아니 디기 안드부 청미야라 펜토기 여르베스 비차시나다 미직수 미즈노라 직 카주얼라비 서로 근데 처바이나
라.
양 나도 참자 미즈나올라 타직 수게 람가스는도 카주데 라루도게 가르치고 있나 간 그저서 디 카주 미지 카주데 라루도 안 덴데 라비 갑술라 야직 레치치 덴데 사바 인수나 수도 랑갈 람 lokbali sora 진 lam yang ta su ta ta lep tuyala le chi chi de che ba isna ani digi shujin chimbo tip tu gre wes
Good question. You have? Yeah, please.
Good morning. In Mahamudra, which I'm only learning,
Mahamudra.
Mahamudra, it speak of seal of concealment, seal of entrustment, and seal of great treasure. The three seals. And I wonder how that plays in without attachment.
could you repeat the last part one more please
When we're looking at the three seals of Mahamudra, the difficulty I have is with remaining detached. So how does one work without attachment and understand and know the three seals are doing their job?
Who teach to you Mahamudra on the book? No lamas. Okay. Are you no religion? No Buddhism? Okay.
Learning.
Okay. Yeah.
코르디송도 게도 단다 찾으신 비고라 코르데 장비컵스 아니 찾아 다 숨으로 직고라 딜치 송두스라 아니 디나마타 쿠란 고마스에디 카르스나 찾아 디숨데 냠니 체베컵스 다 가서 단 되샤다 체베기 토네 찾아 디디 카르스 냠니 치투이 메쳐라
라.
양 되샤 메베 토네 다 찾아데 냠니 치투이 치어라 되샤기 레바마 슈바세오라 딘데기 토네 찾아디디 냠니 카르스 치고에 나스
Yeah. You have? You? No. Okay. 다 넘버 산지비기 추디 미유 다 띵승부 지섬지니 안 추디 냠니 치고라스라 미유 띵승부 디 다 깨워 균치니 드로친 다 냠니 치 마치나 딘지 미유 띵 림부데 지 아니 간소다 뒤윤 튼동 지가 린라야 아니 드비야 드투야 디 칼카부 요레스트라 칼카부 요반자 아니 깨원이 깨워 균이 아니 냠네 최고야 최고한자 아니 깨원하시디 아 시기요로스로 깨원하시 시에디안 깨원하시 지 콤메 로메 토네 깨원하시 송샤에 딘디지레문도 왔으로
Um, so here, so far as the practices associated with Buddha Dharma is concerned, they have a very kind of profound motivation and or objective, and in order to actualize this objective, the practice requires time, not only for one lifetime alone, but over multiple lifetimes. The ultimate goal of the ultimate attainment that Buddhism talks about could not be achieved only within the short span of one lifetime. So therefore, the practitioners require multiple lifetimes to actualize that attainment. So therefore, the past and the future lifetime is discussed, and moreover, the feasibility of future life is not just some random claims, but it is yet again dependent upon many sources and credibility.
대개왕하시기 콩 잼슈로디 개왕하시 쟁이 망부배 연구 어렸어. 라 디기 개왕하시 여바 드비에 타투바로디 딱 몬숨라야 투바로디 개왕하시 쟁이 속이 야 콩뚜게 들에도 왔으라.
So one of the most convincing kind of proof to authenticate the existence or the possibility of past and future life is the individuals who could recall and remember their experiences from past life. So these individuals sometimes could recall and share memories from their past life, and this is somehow their first-hand experience of past life. So therefore, these instances could be considered as one of the most convincing proof to authenticate the feasibility of past and future lives.
대디 팅잉원의 여러 회사에 있다. 행안수 찍질에 이책 말하더라. 나 견절라 통형 말에 견절 갈 통형 말에 땅 안쪽이 땅에 기왕하지 팅이 총어렸을란데 그다 이책 갈까 보러라. 당가서 강아 뒤지가 그랬더라. 미 캔자티 둘로이나 캔자지 캔자 안서다 만다와지 트라이는 베디 또 이제 그 가르라고 나서 이책 가보레스. 이책 가보레스. 인 투가요 말다 카요 말아. 계란수 찍 라바이나 찍 아니 찍 계란수 뇽요 tro샤교기 아니 니 고마뇨 태마뇨 그지 라바이나 니 이시체 가보레스. 가보레스로. 이제
So at first, when I talk about the feasibility of past and the future lives, you might find it absurd, or even maybe not sure about what I'm saying. You might think this guy wearing a strange robe with shaved heads is saying some weird things. You might think like that. So that is common for all human experiences. Even if you share something that you only experience by yourself, which I've never heard about, I would also, equally feel strange about that. So this is a normal thing to feel in that way.
Payimba nga chilo chikdong gubja jech chabden lola ya tani nga ran payu pyo shani jagal le ba yinsra jagal le je chabden lola jagal le ni sera gombala ta je chabden ni gotsu ni nitong dün pardo ngegi ani peja lobjong chi yinsra ta lo nyushu samasung rinla ya pecha te yins tani ta nganzo zinda yaas le ondi 다 굽추 코치 니 테니 굽추 코치 코니 텐다 간조 아니 댄스 숨냠도 테니 펜션 로친 단 장구지세 초여죠 땅아 페시 로 굽추 사지링랑 장구지 세단 로요레스라 급 드디다 굽추 코숨 코시레 아니 간데 샤즈 타상기 캠보지요다 당복군 캠보레 지구라 켄조 차송 공기 챈라 게시콘조 세링세 게시콘조 세링 샤제 게시콘조 세링스 아니 공 캠부 술사바이나야 비기 장구치고 초라나 용치니 간주 사바냠도 빼대 아니 딱서탄치니 슈그레스 딱서탄 아니 랭갸로 찬서 랭갸그린 찬서 공 딱서탄 그리 아니 깝 두디 딱 콩치탄 게시지마도 믹서로지 가야 소라메스 단다 촌주 유튜브를 들어봐이나 다 콩기 인지 돌아 게 규르에메 관심도 콩기 아니 엄마 틱대야기 엄마 곰바랍사기 피티기티 다감 찬자 녀요레스 난델레니 녀다 망부 쇼지 녀이다 콩기 까시 등이 녀바인스라 게시 오니 게시 약보 아니 지 비다지 숑가 까네 투서 돌아 빼 아니 야부 송통에 안딘디 게시죠레스 게시 콘조세리 샤즈 게시 콘조세리
So in 1987, I had to flee Tibet and come to India. And then from 1987 to 2007, I have studied Buddhist philosophy at Sera Monastery for almost 20 years. And then around 1991, we the monk students has to participate in what is known as the winter debate session. So the winter debate session is organized in turn by 3 great learning centers, and then we have to kind of go to that monastic institute in turn to participate in the so-called winter debate session. And then around 1993, on one occasion of winter debate session that was held at Ganden, the then Ganden monastery, Shartse monastery abbot, Geshe Kuncho Sering, he would always, although he was of course the former abbot of Shartse monastery, but he would always participate in the debate with even the young novices. He would sometimes answer, he would sometimes, debate with the novices. So he was very active in participating in the debate, also with the young novice monks. So at that time, I would always feel he was just an ordinary Geshe. And if you want to listen to his teachings, he has taught all the Madhyamika elucidating the intent. His teaching is available in YouTube now. So that time, I always I thought he was just an ordinary monk.
직진의 주디 타돈 덴토리 아니 샤츠 키즈 기시 군조 세리스 지바이나 아니 덴데 샤리요 다데
Geshe kunchu tsiring rega.
레 샤츠
이게 무슨
잉문데
샤츠기 kunchu 셴바가 득세티시. 이제 인지는 직전쇼 geshe. Alena study in Serbia, Michigan içi dur dire.
레레레 데스 약벌이 리르지데
Nasıl? Hmm. Gede de pichi de ramaso. Ande
레
chik dini
공가 까면 나샤지데 도 꾸버치고 떼는데
nas shatse kinsu. Tige kasa
라
chipichi di bata. Genjigi na tirishito. Kamichiko wa.
오 콩레 이래 스케치 군조 세리 아 콩레 콩 배시 굽죽 곱기 고군이 동 더버질 공부 zor다 공부 조치니 니동 싱아 던지질이야 아니 콩기 콩 공부 조니 콩 연계 별라야 총다 별라 총 니동 싱아 등이 딱다 라야메 안 딘디질 파마게 보고 친주디 친 야라 용다 야라 용디게 다 야오르무지 아니 그 공부디 안 차오 몽부이스 공부 친부인 차오 몽부이스 부신지 딘딜랍다 안 겨울무지 기타 만 로졸 칙틱스 제 로졸 만내고 용 간덴 레디게 부디 루시 싱아 쳔바디 갑투 파마 틱치니 이모 코랑기 섬샤를 드지 코란 딘티간을 대진다 켄즈에서 콘섬샤 상마 냔 되그라다 아니 나데스 데리스 니샤 데리스 데다 디총레스 등고여 니즈레스 단다 코페 로존 약보 하 하장 로존 약보 치친 이어레스다
Geshe Kunchut Singla later passed away in late 90s, around 1990 something. He passed away, and later, in after 2004-5, around that time, he was born again, and then a young child was born in Tibet. And then that child always talks about his former life. He would share recollections from his former life, and then later his parents bring him to India and had an audience with His Holiness. And that child would always say, "I belong to a monastery, which is a big monastery." Then His Holiness advised them to take them to South India, where most of these big monasteries were located. And then his parents took him to Gandhi Monastery. And then when they reached the Gandhi Monastery, that time the boy was barely around 4 to 5. So without any prior information about the location, the boy directly took his parents to the residence of Khensu Rinpoche, and he took them the residence, and they said, "This is my house, I belong here." So he took his parents without any prior knowledge. So this is a very clear kind of indication or recollection of his former life.
다디 우유 총열했어 단다 열했어 아니 다딘 디마힘비 다지 아니 배낭 아주 기억하시셔야 됐다 땅 아주 통구요 말이 아니 켈린시 투구요 말이 마도 아주 추주 뉴시 잡시기 저다 나시 로치는 로야래도 왔어 추주 뉴시 잡시기 나로라야 아니 인생 제도라서 인생 제도르다 이네야 카징기 아니 간초마디 데리 샘레 챙겨라 산이 가리 용가 ditanda nganzu shingyo mardine 산이 종규 산이 니마지 용야래 왔어라 깨워디 들여도 다디 깨워디 깨워 하만티 아니 디 깨워디 제니 깨워 제말도 수로야디 다디 찍버치 캬레스 라 로직날 다와 중요래 다와 당부 치용데 다와 니베 나가주 가리용미 싱그요 말다 다와 니바 샤링 거다 다와 니바 샤요걸 다와 당부네 가 요마디 셉나는 챙기를 마도 다와 당부도 조 살아왔어라 대시 용야주도 왔어 디디 지금 다 간주 르락바디야 하창기 르락바디 아니 제보테 온디게 아니 지 첸디 템바난신게 아니 템바 시부 요 말이 마도 지 가서 지 로종기 냠네 약부 여댕이 로이 종더 슈첸부 여댕이기 텔라 아니 템바디 템바 균투니 용토에 자고레스 nganzu misin di nanglola ani lega shukcheshu di lusam nying nang lug chawa lug deki anchik lug detang tola ya bezon che yamado ani sem gu jondar tola ya nganzu tuzu tyong me basra nganzu tuzu tyong me banza nganzu sem de siu cha tu yo mares ta kyewa tangbo kunzu ben tanda shaji gi shi kunzu seri dojin bana chunchu konde lota tru dyuni tawa chechene 곤로 든지 된데 야주 마스스 파르도 배절 로좀 코란 치는 그 코란 토라야 배 리버티브 종디 아니 개왕하시 텐트 거레스 개버디어스라
Um, so this anecdote is based on a real life account where that boy is still studying at Shaze Monastery. And then here, when we talk about past and future life, we could think that in terms of how day and night changes. So within a day, there is day and night, and what has happened in yesterday is already past, and what has happened in yesterday could only be remembered through a memory, and the future is yet to come, but it will come. So similarly, when we think the past and the future in this regard, past life is already gone, but there is sometimes possibility of recollecting and remembering through memories, and the future will come. And similarly, in 1 year, when 1 month passes away, what happened in that month could only be remembered via memories, and the subsequent months are yet to come, but it will come. The time will go in that way. So similarly, past and future life will also occur in that way, and and when we undergoes a change, when we kind of take rebirth, what happens is that we change the gross physical body, and when gross physical body changes, then in most cases we lose all our memories. But those practitioners who have high levels of realization, who have dedicated much of their time in mind training, they could somehow remember and recollect their past memories. So far as the ordinary sentient beings are concerned, we spend more time in our physical body for the happiness of our physical body than training the mind. But those highly realized practitioners, such as Shelze Khenso Rinpoche, such practitioners become monk at a very young age, and then they dedicate their entire life studying and practicing. And for them, their mind training practice is so advanced, and they could kind of they could recollect and to remember past life memories.
다 드니 다 개왕하시 드비제 차슈디 아니 시비톤이다 드비어레스 라 개왕하시 드비제 그리고 차슈디다 베나 아니 세만 남들라 소비 쇼니드니 아 빠추지 잡은 제비다 세만 남들 레니비 나올라야다 아니 개왕하시 그리고 다 차슈 도서 선거여레스 다 개왕하시 그리고 차슈 손디 아니 시비톤이 로고다 아니 간주 시버생이 대학 켈레야들 깔카고다더라 임바이네 간주 류셈 니 여버다 세부로다 류셈 니 난게 아니 류 녀렌데 파미 코다게 녀렌 쳬벌 때는 간주 류트 여버디야 벤땅 간주 온숨도 통고라서 온숨 통고라 임바이나야 아니 시비 셈기 녀렌디 파미 코다게 지금 여버디 대한다 파미 코다게 제바이나 델랑 간두 여버디야 단 통투야 도지라스 딘자 안 딘디기 셈디기 녀렌디 셈 하마지 샤고 고토스 셈 하마지 간선나 치기 빼나 아니 지 수다트르라 소바다 아니 지금 중앙실라 소바 아 딘디기 아니 남시기 녀렌기 주체기 메와디 제약이 제토약이 아니 두시기 리바 요마라스 딘자 단 남시기 균 하마 남시 샤고 요바디 리비 톤 두고 요레스 딘자 딘디기 단 마이 나도 닌센 자마 타비게 피기다지 미랑 야다 차요 마데나 간지 아니 파마니 코단 데바들야 남시 슈 차바다 아니 미차바레스 디가우스 남시 디응고 딘디기 남시 디기 아니 다 녀렌데 카레레스 디 남시 디기 규 카레레스 규요 마르슬란 디고먼 두제린 두제인 규요 거리 규메 케메질 톤 총버스나 총이 두제 거라 요 마라와스라 저 규샤고 규티 개왕 하마라 마샤나 균 하마 샤온디 디 개왕 하마질라 마샤 나 드러서 거라 요 마레스 딘디 토니 아니 개왕 아마 두고 거레스.
And then the most subtle kind of logical reasoning to prove the feasibility of past life is through the uh, through the concept of consciousness. So such discussions are further elaborated and are discussed in great detail in the second chapter of a commentary on valid cognition by Dharmakirti. So in these, he talks about the consciousness or mind. So we all know that mind and body are two separate entities, and we all possess body, we all have mind. But then we all know that the substantial cause of our physical body comes from our parents, their egg and sperm. Through that, our body is formed. So we know very clear that the substantial cause of our physical body comes from our parents. And then we also have mind. Now, where does that mind comes from? What is the substantial cause of that mind? And then if we say that the substantial cause of our mind is a material thing, then that argument would face lots of logical fallacies, because a non-material thing cannot serve as the substantial cause for immaterial thing cannot serve. Sorry, a material thing cannot serve as the substantial cause for immaterial consciousness. So therefore, we need to find what is the substantial cause of the mind. And then if we say the mind comes from without any causes, of course, that argument would also face lots of logical reasoning. So therefore, when during the time of conception, the consciousness enters the womb, and that time, a kind of a body or a sentient being is believed to be formed. So during that time, the consciousness, the substantial cause of consciousness should be another consciousness, because something that is not consciousness cannot serve as the substantial cause for consciousness. So therefore, that consciousness must come from the past life. The substantial cause, the continuity of that consciousness should come from this past life. So that is the kind of reasoning we use to talk about the feasibility of past life.
다들 두스는 개왕 하시 다 두스 드원디 다 개왕 하시 다 여바인자 개와 치말라 drogo 여반자 아니 개와 디디 리나다 로자 통나다 드링 안조다 시시기로 왔어라 데니 마케지 시에 심발이야 우가바이나 치도그라스 개와 치말레도그라스 다능이 데니 마케지 시에 심발이야 지 아니 류그 아니 레자 친중 진가바이나 시시기로 왔어라 그 개와 치말레도그라스 인제 체 디기 윤체디 다 통동 쇼지래 왔어라 진디기 인제 통동 쇼지라 이내야다 개와니 개와 균은 로거스 다 유는 무시오지 게 아니 내든 차가도 왔어라
So if there is a past life, or then of course there will be future life, and when we die, we will go to the future life. And so far as this life is concerned, probably the longest lifespan would be 100 years, and the shortest lifespan would be today. So even while I'm speaking, a minor stroke in my head could take me to the next life. So it could happen in a very, short period of time. But when we talk about multiple lifetime after lifetime, then we are talking about a very extended long period of time.
These danganzu ji ani tsin digi ta tuyun tundong digi ta rinla nibi rinla ya ji tungen goya jara ta penjur saya ta ji ta ani ji nami soya la soba di tuyun tundong ji ki ta kejere do asra ta digi pena ji tsin digi chedu ji penjur ki tola lega chi matu ya la soba ta ji ani ji changsa gya matu ya la soba chongba na ani mitsig ndolom shorsung sangba na 디 samlo di karso daji hukyang rimbugi samlo di tang matubi nedun soroji chagi yores ro dyun tundong di nang lo la ya niyagi di dyun tundong di nang lo la ya ji debi rin la ya goya gin tungen di ji ani tola ya shuji kali gya matuba na digi rangi mitsegin dolom laksong samya di semri di chego mares penang handa wajimanta 아니 롱업 칠하스 레고리 지 미세 디그 돌놈 그체도 로 벤주 그체도 때 제 마뇽 슬라바이나 때 자차 자다 오레스 로 미세 용저 로죽니니 제네 엠베자 론진 체지 베자 데지네 단다 버드 아니 니마치라 베자 카타 마뇽 슬라브나 랍 초에도 오지레스라 지 아니 벤주 어라다 체도 소소 나무소에 자와니니 제 마뇽스 임바이나야 니 무슨 돈놈 다 쇼송 삼성 삼로 자와니니 니 무슨 디 야부 총송 삼비 가서리스
So therefore, when we talk about this life, we're talking about a very short period from the larger perspective. And then sometimes our aspirations in this life, such as family, money, marriage, all of these things, we sometimes consider very important. And when we could not achieve success with regard to these, we think we have failed ourselves. But if we think in that way, we are thinking from a very kind of short-sighted perspective. If you could think from a long, larger kind of perspective, then this life is a very short span of time, and there are more things to achieve if you think from that larger context. For instance, I've now more 50 years of age, and for my entire life since I was 12, I dedicated my life studying Buddhist philosophy and spent my entire life in teaching. And in this regard, I've never spent a day for family, for making money, to achieve success in this regard. I've never spent a day in achieve success in this, but I've never felt that I've failed myself or I could not achieve anything in this life. But instead, I feel very kind of proud for how I have spent my life in Dharma.
다 세tun동 디나노라야지 단단간주 변의 개원하시기 돌아야 깨지시 깨지생인지기시 닝인지기니 디돌로 두직 삼로 땅원디 대마타도 샘딜라야 샘딜라야 수주 샘기딜라야 바차치 샤가요레스 바차치 디타 뒤은tun동 지기 나노라야 삼로 춘종지 세거라다 덴디지 땅벌 때네 바차치 샤가도 왔으라 디 바차 디 파타디 춘종 수르지리 되네야 델라야 아니 깨와 제마 아니 깨인지 채바이나 아니 람상 베기 아니 개왕하시 생에도 다 내가 전부 쇼지레사 삼비기 아니 로키 투야기 니바딜레고레스 바차 디기 깬시지네 아니 펜도 쇼지 용투야 데부슈 전부 쇼지 드브투야 다 개와 하시드 개첨부진 전투바나 아니 개와 치만 넘수고 쳐도 아니 땡들이야 내가 쳐도 거다 디마도 가서 개와 가시 개만은 개와 치만 론 고기요리 아니 개와 치만 로야 다디 자완이 제마도는 로바나 개와 치만 깡아 쳐다 배시 야자 야로즈레스
So the discussions that we are having here definitely plants a seed in your continuum. It leaves an imprint. For the time being, it may look insignificant, but in the future, when that implant or when that seed is met with conducive factors and conditions, this could activate it, and maybe because of that, it trigger our thought about the importance of past and future lives, and so on and so forth. So the thing is that if we could accept, or if we could understand the feasibility of past and future life, particularly future lives, then we would dedicate more time making preparations for the future life. So we all die and we all go to the future life, next life. But if we could not accept the feasibility of next life, we could not make any preparations. And when we go unprepared, of course, we are bound to encounter trouble. But then if we understand the feasibility and if we are prepared about the next life, then when we in fact go to the next life, we will be much more prepared to go to the next life.
헤르딘자지 아니 먼저 단직 메신디링라야 직슈지기 배 아니 벤저 드비아기 레가치 마투바야냐 아니 지금 메신돌람 락송 상고야 내단 코리아 말레스 수수기 피기 때 로이 남주 베저단 가리 톨이야 상당 투도 저 아니 제버체 투도 티치는 저바이나 다가랑기 아니 메시디 탄다 덴바지 착투그레스 착투그레스로
So even if you could not achieve much success in material things, you should not feel kind of discouraged. Instead of that, if you spend more time reflecting upon the crucial concept as such, then definitely this will make our life even more meaningful in the long run.
nganzu tanda namba sanji vichwe jangora tanda namba sanji vichwe tengin temba di temba shaja tuba kong ra asra bada shaja tuba kong ra kong tangbo gyabu jila ya chongche teni kab tudu ta chik mambu jiki ta bugu di mambu na ya ani chik gyasi kyong droba ya na chik kolo gyuwi gyabu gyurtu yagi an tin du sayla soba ta chik 아니 코로나 인바이나 하장 그때 아니 갈수 다 이동와 아니 이합 잡고 있는 자친부 아니 유미나 지 하장 이동와 이원 줘봤다 딘디 아니 세이나 딘디 여봐 딘디 지기 까블야 참마 유는 줘봐라 와서라 참마 유는 줘봐라 디 그게 아니 디 갈수 다 지. 미치긴 돈을 나가버지. 당간주 상담한테 미치긴 돈을 나가서 소리지. 제거데 뒤자원이 레면도서. 대참마 이거를 때니 다 단다버도 니도 주기 제라야 다 공글랍셔드 난신식 자원이 매대지. 용야디 아니 첸디기 즉 도구 담성기 쳐도 민다 담다 딘디기 쳐도 즉 규변주 소대디 파샤니 아니 랑기 남주 코랑 아니 짜도 되니 리버드에 디기 실직 마인바 아니 가서다 지식 아니 지 아니 잠블린 많이 파르도 배 디나노라야 지 냔다지는 용야디 규진테레도 왔어 Dinsa nganzo le soso le namchu kari yobad namchu ani tenchini pigi ani yungubi nelu tola ya samlo tante wana nima chik samlo tante wana di nima chik du tenda demba dawa chik samlo tante dawa chik tenda demba metsi kanza di samlo tante metsi du tenda demba sayadi chagwa res.
So here we are now discussing about Buddhism, and the teacher of Buddhism is Buddha Shakyamuni. And Buddha Shakyamuni was initially born as a prince, and then during his formative years, some astrologers predict that he would become a universal monarch if he choose to. And then not only that, he was in fact very handsome and have all the facilities as a prince. He spent a very lavish lifestyle, protected by the royal family. But later, then he left everything behind and went to seek inner transformation. So from a very ordinary perspective, we think he left all his legacy and he lost everything. But now when we look back and think about his life, we could see that that departure from his royal palace has made him, or rather produced such a great teacher after 2,600 years, and his teaching is still relevant in this day and age. So therefore, he chose to seek inner transformation instead of things that are relevant for one life alone. So similarly, if we also seek inner transformation, if we also dedicate time thinking about and reflecting about the reality and so on and so forth, if we think for 1 hour, that 1 hour will become meaningful. If we think for one day, that one day will become meaningful. And if we think for our entire life will become meaningful. So that's how we make our life meaningful, by seeking inner transformation and contemplating about inner transformation.
Tadini tirita ta kewa ni kewa gyun drogo yawansa nganzu kewa chima la pembi chawachi sentele chego gores kewa chima mi lu toyachi ro ta chik tundu sumjen ro jik kewa lemba ina nganzu ta chugu tola ya ani samtang tuyo kora mundu asro chi ta rangda shen niga la ya pembi chawachi tuyachi mundu asdara 다 랑시 니가래 펜비 자와치 퉁이 땐다 미 땐이 받다 간주 다 온숨 통과하더라 딘자다 깨워 치말이야 미 땐 야부치 쉐럽도 남지 끼 퉁이 미 땐지 용야라야 아니 센델야 아니 디게 용야가 규드 죽고 거레스 디규드 죽고 거레스 라
Since we all will go to the next life, we must do something that will be beneficial for the next subsequent life. And then if we take reborn in the animal world, then we can't do much for oneself and for others. But the most supreme basis, the most supreme rebirth that could achieve, that could contribute for oneself and other, is the human life. So therefore, we must engage in activities that would help us to reborn again as humans.
단 디나 세딜레 체디 깨워 치말레 펜비 자와드 가르스나 베나 메기 주봉 수름 따우든 게 버도 송고 거레스 메기 주봉 수름 룽하기 녀주 dom고다스라 룽하기 녀주 dom고 아니 셈라야 띵인슨다 셔르기 라버 트윈체 또 전 drogo dasra tin drogo 왔다 다디 아니 레 딘디직 치고다 딩 메타메지레다
Yes. So by engaging in the 10 virtuous deeds, 10 virtuous, 10 wholesome actions, and that will help us to create conducive causes for taking reborn as a human in a future lifetime. So therefore, by cultivating wisdom and by cultivating um, um, insight, we could, in fact, create conducive causes to be reborn as a human in the future life.
다디니다 미때 토바 잠지기 팽금도 다디 미유타도 가르슬라온디 아니 뉴무 세비기 세바디 용고거다 뉴무 세비 세바도 톱고 그랬어 남바 산지 위치용고 때 뉴무 세비 세바 뉴무보다 시지르바 간지 산기 콤보토야 드레스 다 디토비기 시덴디 아니 미기 좁은 거 수름 써야 되리 텔레템 비기 땡인선다 아니 시럽기 라바스 라운디다 단다다 지기 용다겠다 동반이 세트 엠티니스 세트 디레다 어디 텔레 녜퍼도 장고 그랬어 텔레 장고 그랬어
So although we must try to create conducive causes to be reborn as a human again, but simply reborn, simply being a human is not sufficient. We must strive to attain the state of enlightenment, or in other words, the total eradication of subtle and gross afflictive emotions. And in order to achieve that, in order to achieve enlightenment, we must first eliminate the subtle obscurations, subtle and gross obscurations. And in order to do that, we must have a very strong foundation of the ethical practices of 10 virtuous deeds. And the practice of 10 virtuous deeds is the foundation for two other practices, the cultivation of wisdom and the cultivation of concentration. So therefore, these two, and the cultivation of wisdom is popularly known as the cultivation of the wisdom realizing emptiness. So by cultivating these three, we will be able to make the human life more meaningful.
다디르다 내루 동반이기 텐토니다 니무 세투고요레스 니무 세투고요레스라 디곰비토지다 니무 마리바디세 데찰라 소바 세투고레 이나야 디자베 바자다 시지드바세 디기타지 제메타야 마크비기 아니 셈자마 차원디다 산지세데 차고르다 디다 제마자야 아니 경 코라 ngo스 타보마세 디기페 아니 제마자야 마크바지 용해라 아니 탑 아니 잔주고 샘셋 인지의 잔주고 샘셋 라 안디 곰고 거레스 디르다 아니 가서 메기 주본 거 수점 송다 메기 주본 거 수점 렌다 아니 땡인즈 곰다 아니 텔데니 지 아니 동반이 도비 셰르기다 동반이 세드 땡가리 유메 안디 동반이 도비 셰르고 톨라야 인지의 잔주섬 고당 그런 거 로디 아니 산지 좀 된 되겠다 아니 송 촉직 소리지 아니 도생이 나올라야 수트라 나올라야다 디찬장 곰당 그런 거 찬장 직송 요레스
So by cultivating wisdom, realizing emptiness, we will be able to eliminate afflictive emotions, and it's not sufficient only to eradicate the gross mental afflictive emotions. We have to eliminate them along with its seeds and imprints. So in order to completely eliminate the afflictive emotions together with its imprints, the wisdom realizing emptiness has to be supplemented with the method aspects of the path, or or the cultivation of great compassion and bodhicitta, in other words. So therefore, the wisdom and method should go hand in hand. So therefore, first we must cultivate the ethical practices as a foundation, and based on that, we must try to cultivate concentration and wisdom. Um, and with cultivation of wisdom, we will be ultimately be able to remove gross and subtle levels of obscurations and attain enlightenment. So the entire procedure, entire process of how to engage in the ethical practices, how can we cultivate concentration, how to cultivate wisdom, all these are taught in the Sutra of Buddha. So therefore, Sutra explains very clearly about the cultivation of these three paths.
다 디기 코와 디기 냠네 디기 내도 약부 차원디 되니 다 상 교부 슈기야겠다 섬전 탐지기 팬디 드비야게 쳐도 아니 상 긴도기 쌈로도 숙천부 슈지 내고 그랬어 숙천부 슈 내고 그랬어 다 되니 시니 아니 겨도지 장기다 산지 좀 된데다 겨도지 장고 꿀어야 상치니 아니 다 귀기름 바세야지 송요레스 다 디나노라야 단지 계란기 깨지 트대야기 아니 름바숨지다 아니 차자 첨부세 식식이도 왔어 다디 디콩라야 누고레스 덴디다 귀니 셰비 람기 름바디 알리 담부 냠네 치야라야 도니 셰비기 피기 내든 두서 약포치 아니 고츠와 고와라바 지 냠뇽 간라간좀 마총 공 아니 피기기 다지 차제 첨부세디 토라야 성당 들어와나 당고녀 쇼레스 당고녀 다 벨스는 고녀 라그 다들 인지 다 칼라 다들 고녀 쇼차고 그랬어
Yes. So when you have a very strong kind of intellectual understanding about the whole aspects of the path, then it would kind of motivate you to attain enlightenment for the sake of the entire sentient beings. And not only that, you will think the urgency to attain enlightenment as soon as possible for the benefit of sentient beings. And in order to kind of attain enlightenment so as soon as possible, then the practice of Tantra come into action. And then within the context, within the framework of Tantra, the discussion such as the Great Mahamudra and the 3 or 4 seals that you were talking about occurs in the context of Tantra. But before engaging in the practices of Tantra, it is indispensable, or it is kind of it is mandatory to have a very strong foundation of the sutra aspects of the path. You must have a very good intellectual kind of understanding of the entire path. Not only that, one must engage in the practices in the sutra. So if you directly engage in the Tantra, if you directly engage in the Mahamudra teachings without having a solid foundation of the Sutra aspect of the path, then it may become very confusing. It may confuse you. It may become a very kind of a chaotic, kind of confusing thing to do.
단다 왕 슈세저스 왕 마슈 파르도 아니 상하기 숑 비기기다 지 온니기 지 상하네 타르투버 템비기 아니 숑도솔이야 아니 녀섬 제 초고요 말이스 온니 진 초고요 말이스 대저 아니 taina nga nyengme nga chigi nga ngara rawa islavna nga zuta tiri mado te wang seje de wang len go re seje wang len kala teni sama daten lama jigi datechin da chondi ta tangone di lamga de ya ta mid droshi sari samna ta kyoran drona digitu segi chokchen zodar masona da 왕 제거라서 다 왕 톱스비 제라 데니 단지 시원하지 도마디 개체슈도 미기 주고 술좀 약 송친 착갸서야디 아니 담식리 만다왔을라라 담식 조 가래 아니 술좀 송야 되려왔으라 술좀리 만다베톤 술좀리 만다베톤 로 아니 에 따지 아니 하곰당 그런 발로 소버디 어디인 거라 아니 술좀 지에 마송 지에지니 대지 로에나 아니 착자 말이 아니 창갈 세리 차거라 창갈 피저를 차기도 하더라 오늘에서라
Yes. Usually when we engage in the tantric practices, we must first receive the initiation or empowerment. And what does empowerment do is that when a teacher first gives you instructions about the path, and then if you think you are ready to enter that path, or if the teacher feels that you are suitable or rather prepared to engage in the tantric path, then only you will receive the empowerment, and then you are initiated into the path. So therefore, you, according to the traditional kind of thing, you're not supposed to practice and even kind of study tantric exoteric practices without receiving the empowerments and the initiations. And then after receiving the initiations, then you can enter the path and you can engage in the practices. But still, even if you are practicing tantric practices, the 10 non-virtue and 10 virtuous deeds are still the foundation. You should have a very strong, solid foundation of the ethical practices. And then if you tend to engage in the Mahamudra practices without the foundation of the ethical practices, then this practice will not become a Mahamudra, but it may become the opposite of that.
대지당기 드줄이야 다 돈나 여바데다 야부 빼러왔어 딘디를 돈나 여바이나 아니 가르치고 있으란 디기다 차게 전부 될이야 맹아 그 규바 만들어 연구요레스 맹아 그 규바 질이야 맹아 그 규바 질이야 뚜치네 차게 전부도 장게인 바나 개차자도 못니 빼야부 차그레스 소소를 돈나 여바데 원이다 디 양고 박차 약부지레스다 소소를 돈나 여바데 박차 상부 약부지레스 다 디그 박차 디기 야 로바 카르고스네 맹아 그 규바 질이 뚜고 그레스 맹아 그 규바 딜라야 단다 아주 배우기 추균 나눠라야 추균 전부 시세저래 디나니다 아니 가죽이 기바요래 사자기 기바요래 아니 지 니마기 기바요래 아니 로겔루비 겐덴비 기바치 용거레스 티케랑 카리기 숑라야 페나 직진나 가죽 숑딘데 예스그리 직진나 겔루 숑딘데 예스그리 딘디 카리 증거는 디그 맹아 기바 용이 라마질이야 뚝치 아니 집페나 아니 개닝 돈발로 소바 아니 cam주 돈발로 소바 랑체네 데니지 장기인 바이나 자스자도 저런 편도 연구했다.
And of course, it's commendable to have interest in the teachings of Mahamudra, but if you want to deepen your understanding and engage in the practices of Mahamudra, then it would be better to rely on a master who holds the lineage of the Mahamudra teaching. So Mahamudra teaching has many different lineages. There is a lineage that belongs to the Kagyu tradition, the lineage, then there is lineage which belongs to Sakya tradition, then there is lineage which belongs to Nyingma tradition, and then of course there is a lineage that belongs to Gelugpa tradition. So therefore the Mahamudra teaching has different lineages. So the fact that you have interest in the Mahamudra teaching is a very kind of positive sign. And then you might be currently reading a text that belongs to Kagyu, Sakya, whatever it is. It is kind of recommended to rely on a proper lineage, and then take a precept of layperson's precepts or whatever precept that you wish to take. And based on that, if you rely on a master who holds the lineage or whatever you are referring to, then that would definitely make your kind of engagement with the teaching even more meaningful.
Chanjuk semdang ani tongba nyingi nedun ha kongin jigi ani lamdi nyamni chigi bana ani chakbo da mandri we tone ta re chakbi on the masongba lam nyamni che to yagi tablam ji Geshe gyatama yores ta chik chanjuk semdang ani tongba nyinla ya ko sawa nyini mena teni kala khabo shores teni nyenga res ta nyenga ro ta nyenga res ro tengi ta nguyo ni zu ta changbu rangye xie xia la ta kya ji ni tiwa tangin ki ji ngosong so da ji ni len ge yo ma la ta di ngone chani xie xia wa ra was ra di ma mangbu ji a miti ji sam dro miti ji ten dro sam ani len ani kapdu ma chenge di yung go ta di chena ta nga zo pen do mo do was ra
So therefore, if your practice of Mahamudra is conjoined with the bodhicitta and emptiness, then you will be able to remain kind of detached from your practice. So without having a solid foundation and understanding of bodhicitta and emptiness, then our practices may become kind of may not be able to detached. So therefore, it's really crucial to have intellectual understanding and some experiences of bodhicitta and emptiness. So that's how we can make our practices detached. And since you have asked this question, I kind of share my thoughts without any filter with regard to that.
thank you te sha wa to chena
Yes.
For the booklet, final Lamrim prayer. For my two types of merits, vast is space, that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time. May I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives, Manjushri. May I find of the best complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time, by even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes an effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. In the prayer for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And the prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Predika Buddhas, victorious Losan, father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway to which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from the mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you.